Oops.
Just after CBC President Catherine Tate tried to play the victim card in committee after getting grilled for handing out over $18 million in bonuses for firing hundreds of employees, karma clapped back when she was found guilty of an ethics violation and breaking the Conflict of Interest Act.
Let's take a look.
CBC President Catherine Tate pays $200 conflict of interest fine and blames investment advisor. A spokesperson said Tate's investment advisor bought a corporate bond with her personal pension savings account.
Ottawa. Oops. Catherine Tate, the outgoing president of CBC Radio Canada, had to pay a $200 fine after violating a section of the Conflict of Interest Act dealing with asset reporting, which the corporation says happened as a result of an investment error. A notice was recently posted to the Public Registry of Conflict of Interest and Ethics Commissioner Conrad von Finkelstein's office about administrative penalties imposed by the commissioner.
A spokesperson for the public broadcaster said Tate had been filing documents relating to her personal finances since her appointment back in 2018 and has met every requirement. Leon Marr said in 2023, Tate's investment advisor bought a corporate bond with her personal pension savings account. The advisor did so, quote, without knowing that this is considered a controlled asset, end quote, which public office holders like Tate are not allowed to have under the rules.
Quote, as soon as the president was made aware of the non-compliance, she instructed her investment advisor to sell the bond and provided proof of sale within 10 business days to the Office of the Conflict of Interest and Ethics Commissioner as requested, end quote, Marr said. As a result, von Finkelstein's office levied a $200 fine, which Marr said Tate paid. The timing of the penalty comes after Tate recently testified to members of Parliament on the Parliamentary Heritage Committee, some of whom she accused of using her appearance to try and quote-unquote vilify her. Although Tate didn't name names, opposition Conservative MPs routinely call for $1 billion in funding the public broadcaster receives annually to be slashed.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has spent the past 2 years promising to quote-unquote defund CBC, saying that not only does it cost taxpayers, but is also guilty of bias against his party. Tate has repeatedly defended the corporation's independence, both in terms of its editorial decisions as well as in its operations. In this month's committee appearance, Tate requested that MPs respect the public broadcaster's independence, especially as it relates to the corporation paying out millions in bonuses to managers and other senior executives. She has said that these non-unionized employees are entitled to receive this compensation according to their contracts. Representatives from all federal parties, including Liberal MPs, have criticized the CBC for paying these bonuses for the most recent fiscal year after cutting jobs and eliminating other vacancies, citing a $125 million shortfall. Tate is set to enter tenure in January of 2025. The Liberals recently announced that Quebec television executive Marie-Philippe Bouchard has been appointed as her replacement.
So it's nice to see that somebody like Catherine Tate can be held to an ethics violation, but, you know, here we go with this $200 fine, and it's not my fault, and all of this stuff.
Right. It's sad that Michael Barrett hasn't been able to put his private member's bill through yet, because, I mean, what is $200 to somebody whose base salary is nearly $500,000 per year?
Right. And with their bonus, you know, obviously it flies past that. So this is the problem, right? $200. Like, $200 is going to be, you know, probably a significant hit for the average Canadian at this point.
Oh, for sure.
Nobody has any money.
But, I mean, if we were all making what Catherine Tate makes, it's probably like, what, a nickel, a dime? It's pocket change.
And, you know, it's something, because when she was sitting there crying victim, having to answer for the fact that she and her executive team put forth recommendations that they all get paid $18 million in bonuses, Never mind the fact that you're running at a $125 million shortfall to the point where you actually had to let a whole bunch of people go. Like, that is ridiculous.
I mean, I would say it's cruel because you have people who are losing their livelihoods just so management can make a little bit extra money.
And you're using 70% of your budget as taxpayer money. Now, just think about that. All of these other businesses out there, they have to make enough money in order to A, pay their expenses, and B, turn a profit, right? So now think about CBC. So 70% of their budget, they are unable to actually generate revenue for. So automatically off the bat, that's a problem. Now, some people would say, well, it's because they have to station, people in, different parts of Canada that, wouldn't normally get news. Sure, that's fine. But you can, that's not going to account for 70% of your budget. I'm sorry. And is it any surprise that, 70% of your budget is taxpayer funded when you're handing out millions and millions of dollars to your executives every year, no matter the fact that you're leaking money from this organization left, right, and center?
Well, didn't they hand out $18 million in bonuses this year?
Yeah.
How many employees could that have saved? Like, how many jobs could that have saved?
Well, and that's the question, right? And
I mean, if and this is just making an assumption just for the sake of math, because you all know I'm not very good at mental math. Say each employee is making $100,000. Well, that's, let's see, 10. That's almost what, 20 jobs? No. Help me with the math.
200
here.
jobs.
200 jobs. There you go. Almost 200 jobs. So 180 jobs that they could be saving. See, I told you I was bad at math.
So this is the question, right? Now, if you recall in committee, Catherine Tate also said that the 2023 year, they only met like 1 of 13 performance targets. People still got bonuses, by the way. And then all of a sudden this year, they met or exceeded all of their targets because guess what? They lowered them all. So it wasn't the fact that, we didn't meet these targets. We need to do a better job in order to meet them next year. It's, let's just lower them.
Well, and I had used the example of it. It's like me counting to 20. Of course, I can count to 20. I'm an adult. I've been able to count to 20 since I was a small child. It's not a challenge for me to be able to count to 20. So if I had put on, my job, what's the proper term for when you sign up for your bonus, your goals?
Or your performance objectives.
Performance objectives. Thank you. So if I had put on my performance objectives that, I have to be able to count to 20. Oh, look I can do it. Amazing. I get my bonus. Awesome.
Yeah. So, but again, this dovetails back to what Tanya was saying initially. They have to look at completely revamping the ethics commissioner's office, the penalties that go along with it, because it doesn't matter. It comes from a time when people actually cared about their reputation, and their reputation was actually really well known in terms of if you actually violated an ethics law. Back in the day, you were done. It was like cancel culture if you violated an ethics law.
Well, and I think that's a good point. And I think cancel culture today is just, what would I say? That only a certain subset of people care. And if you're outside of that subset, well, then it just doesn't matter. It doesn't get reported on. It's not flashy enough. That's why we decided to do this story tonight, because we wanted the story told. Yes, it's not the punishment or it's not big enough. You could argue that $200 is like nothing to Catherine Tate, considering how much money she makes. But it's always a step in the right direction when officials are held to account.
And you may not feel like this is holding her to account, but it's still a black mark against her, and it demonstrates the hypocrisy of her, complaining that she's being vilified when actually you're not even paying attention to your own financial portfolio, so you avoid these types of conflicts in the first place.
Well, and she's losing her job. Her contract is not being renewed in January.